you're not a member of the foundation, we certainly would appreciate you joining. Check out the Facebook page. We have a Twitter page. All that information is in the handout that you got. Again, Lax World stepped up in a big way again to help pay for lunches and things like that. We had a couple no-shows. You guys that don't have a BL, you just have a B on your label, we'll have enough lunches for everybody. If you didn't order one, you know, please go ahead and take one. Coach Mike, I'll let you, and Coach is going to go till about 10 after 12.
I appreciate that raving introduction.
They got a nice bio in the handout.
How many coaches have even opened their hand up? Yeah, my point exactly. Hey, listen, I'm totally humbled to be here and have a chance to talk to you. There's so many incredible coaches in this room, including the two you just played against, and guys, I wouldn't want to leave anybody out, but there's certainly great coaches here that I've had the blessing of competing against. You know, the origin of all this was kind of unique. I really don't see myself as a great coach, even though I've been blessed with great teams. In this capacity today, I'm speaking to you, I think, more as a researcher, okay, who's got a 35-year head coaching background, coaching from Calgary to Baltimore to Florida and all points in between. Anyway, what I want to share with you today is, none of it is my material. How many guys in here have been to our website, LaxCoachMike.com? How many of you have read our articles on Lax Power, by any chance? So here's what happened, man. Like a couple years ago, well, probably like 7 years ago now, I was doing some summer camps with Coach Berkman from Salisbury, ironically a run and gun transition guy to the max. And we were talking about U.S. Lacrosse, and I had been going to U.S. Lacrosse forever. And he said, have you gone to the College Coaches Convention, IMLCA? And back in those days, they really didn't welcome high school guys there. It was much smaller than it is today. And make a long story short, he got me in, and I'm listening to presentations all day. And maybe like you, I took like 85 pages of notes, you know. And the very last presentation on Saturday was like at 5:30 or something, okay? And I had been taking notes, I got writer's cramp, I'll never implement all the stuff I had. The coaches were so willing to share their stuff, it was amazing. So then I got the angel and the devil. Has this ever happened to you? I got the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other shoulder, and the devil's going, hey, you're going to Fells Point tonight, man. Don't even be messing around with this last session. You're old, go home, go to bed, like get an hour's nap before you go out with the coaches tonight. And the angel is going, you came all the way to this College Coaches Convention, you need to go to the last session. And the devil's going like, shut up, you know, you can't party the way you used to, you better go take a nap. And the angel's going, hey, shut up, we came all the way here. So I decided to go, but I did the right thing. Any Lutherans in the room, besides me and Doug Horn? Yeah, Lutherans are good at this. So, and I'm a lay preacher in a Lutheran church, so I can get away with this. So what I did is I came in the door and I sat in the back row on the aisle, right? Why? Yeah. So I could split, right? But I'm way beyond the normal guy at this. I even tested the door to see if it creaks. Because a lot of times, like if you sneak out and the door creaks, everybody turns around, right? The door was silent, I'm making the shade. I'm sitting in the last seat on the aisle. The guy is talking about zone defenses. I hate zone defenses. I couldn't care less about zone defenses. But the angel got the better of me. But the devil's going, we can still sneak out, you know? And so anyway, I'm sitting there and the session starts. And I'm in the back, and I'm trying to decide now, am I going to leave early? Am I going to hang out? What am I going to do? And next thing I know, there's a tap on my shoulder from a towering man, and he goes, would you mind moving down 3 or 4 seats? Now, I don't want to move down 3 or 4 seats, because then, what?
You're trapped.
I'm trapped. I can't split, right? So I look up, right, and it's Dave Petramala, and in from Hopkins. And in comes the trilogy at the time, inseparable at the time. You know, Richie Meade, Coach Tierney when he was at Princeton, and Petro, and they sit in the 3 sits next to me. And now I sit down here and I'm kind of pouting, right, because I'm stuck. Well, over the next 45 minutes, I was blown away. This coach giving this information out couldn't hold a candle in terms of pedigree, reputation, wins, and losses to these 3 giants that were sitting next to me. But next to me is Petramala. took 7 pages of notes, wearing a coat and tie. Next to him is Tierney, took like 8 or 9 pages of notes. Next to him is Meade. I don't think Meade took too many notes. Anyway, you know, so I went back to my room and I called my incredible, how many have unbelievable coaches' wives? I know there's one right here. I know Ryan's got one. Yeah, I called my incredible coaching wife for 35 years and she's going, you sound melancholy. I said, babe, I almost walked out of a session so that I could take a rest. If Dave Petramala is there to learn one new thing that will help his kids be successful, how could I possibly not have gone? And the guilt rode over me. So then, in real life, I write books on Gen X and millennials, and I was doing a lot of webinars, and I thought maybe we ought to do a webinar or a series of put this stuff on the internet, not because of me, but because the coaches are so willing to share. And I pursued the idea, and everybody told me I was nuts. For the first year, we had maybe 50 free members. You know, now we've got well in excess of 5,000. The point I want to make to you is not about my site. You know, I mean, I can't handle all the traffic I have on my site now. What I want to tell you is that if you want to be that coach that is always getting information, there is so much stuff out there you can't believe it. I am so humbled by the fact that on my site alone, where we interview college coaches, not about wins and losses, never about moose-haired kids, never about recruiting classes, all we talk about is drills and practice plans. End of dialogue, okay? To date, we've had 700,000 page views. Can you believe that, Luke, since we started? I mean, I look at these numbers, I can't believe it. Our YouTube videos, of which there's like 19, thanks to Coach Hunter now, 180,000 views. I got one app for free on 4 ways to run 4v4, you know, 50,000. But what I want to tell you is if you go on LaxPower, click in the upper right-hand corner under Coaching Resources. I've got an addition, I think I've got 130 drills and articles on my site, another 55 on LaxPower. US Lacrosse does an amazing job with their app where you can just look at drills before you step on the field for practice. If you go to LaxPower, you will also see, oops. If you go to LaxPower, you will also see, if you click in that upper right-hand corner, there are some other resources there. All this is free, okay? Not only the stuff that we contribute, which is none of it is mine, it all comes from the coaches we interview and the research we do, but Duke puts up their coaching clinics. Watch the whole coaching clinic on LaxPower for free on your computer. Notre Dame, I know that a lot of you use the Notre Dame drills. You know, we certainly do. There's a Notre Dame Lacrosse channel, but there's also 39 drills with video. A lot of them are defensive oriented, which a lot of us are looking. Matt Hogan has a bunch of stuff online that is really, really huge. So there's resources out there. So before I really get into my drills that I want to share with you, and I think I've got 11 or 12 videos of drills I want to share. Before I get into my presentation, I want to challenge you with a question, right? How many of you told your kids in the fall or when you saw them last spring that they need to get on the wall and work their sticks? How many coaches in this room said that? How many coaches in this room told their kids, I want you to take your conditioning and our weight training in our January, or if you had fall conditioning, seriously, and kept track of who was there? Raise your hand. If you told your kids to condition seriously, right? So here's my question to you. I don't mean to be a jerk. But how can you possibly, without being a hypocrite, challenge 25, 30 guys on your varsity lacrosse team, or up to 200 or 300 in some of these youth programs, about getting on the ball, shooting on the cage, shooting in the backyard, working on their conditioning at the high school and the JV level, but yet you as a coach don't do anything to improve your arsenal or learn changes in terms of what you're doing? How can you do that and look your kids in the eye? That's my soapbox. Especially when it's free. You know, we have a premium element to our site, but it's all free, okay? Anyway, you know, Jimmy Busick made a great comment there. Let me take it one step further. You know, I'm a running gun coach. Guys that have coached against me know that. You know, my close and dear friend Mike Ryan, you know, watching the meticulous nature of his offense, I like die 1,000 deaths, you know. But how can you argue with his success? Anyway, the most analytical coach out of 125, 126 hours that we have up in our library now that I've ever interviewed, believe it or not, was Mike Pressler, the guy that coached at Duke, now at Bryant. If you haven't read that book, When the Truth Doesn't Matter, you need to read that book, incidentally. You won't be able to put it down. Anyway, Pressler's got a chart of every single shot and goal ever since the beginning of mankind, right? In any game he's been involved with at any level. And he tracks that stuff, and according to him, this is the guy that coached Team USA, guy that coached Duke, guy that upset Syracuse at Bryant, you know, kind of talk about David and Goliath.
Lost to Marist last year.
Lost to Marist last year. And incidentally, the Marist coach still hasn't come on our site to be interviewed, so those two go hand in hand, I guess. Anyway, you know, he says tracking every goal scored and scored against at the NCAA level, 86% of those goals occurred in some way, shape, or form or manner of transition lacrosse. You know, and I'll never forget one of my favorite interviews that I've interviewed him a number of times, but the first interview I ever did with Lars Tiffany, great coach at Brown. You know, we were talking about all these highfalutin offensive changes and motion offense and pairs and doing this and doing that, and there's silence on the phone for about 8 seconds, and then he looks at me, or excuse me, I'm on a audio podcast with him, and there's silence, and then he goes, but you know what, nothing really happens till somebody beats somebody anyway. Wow, what a reflective comment that is, right? So transition, especially for the youth coaches here, you know, a lot of you might think when you hear the word transition that we're talking about a fast break. When you have two great teams playing against each other, you're not going to see a fast break. And especially with the expanded size of the box, the D-middies are down there drinking coffee, even if you had a 10-yard lead out of your offensive end, right? We're talking about an opportunity where somebody gets beat on ball or off ball, and finally whittling it down to what Coach Sousa so astutely noted as a 2v1 on the backside pipe, okay? So not fast breaks, but these little mini snapshots of a game. What have we learned from 5 years of interviewing NCAA coaches, 200 plus publications and everything else? Here's what we learned. Kids don't learn by you grabbing them by the shoulder and say, when Lou shoots, Johnny, you come over here. Kids learn by doing. You know, the millennial generation is totally different in terms of their learning style. So as a coach, you can browbeat your 30-minute 6v6 drill into them till everybody dies of boredom and nobody's happy, or you can slightly tweak. See, I'm not nearly as nice as those other coaches that spoke this morning. You know, you can tweak your practice plan to accommodate the learning style of the kids you're coaching. Doesn't make you less of a leader. My goodness, when you play a great team, don't you go out and do a scouting report and modify what you do to give you an advantage against that team? Why wouldn't the same concept hold true for the kids you're coaching? I mean, where am I off? So, touches. In our practices, and in most college practices, we get, this is a non-negotiable, we get every player 200 touches in the first hour of practice. 200 touches in the first hour, right and left, okay? And then generally another 100 in the balance of the 45 minutes or an hour. We've also, I'm currently so blessed to coach with the greatest Christian man I've ever met, John Hunter at Whitfield now. You know, and we found we can get a lot of our stuff done, because we got a smaller roster, in 90 minutes and be equally as effective, okay? Anyway, so a transition drill can be fun and different every day. The other thing I want to say about transition drills, when Don started his presentation, and where coaching youth held up their hand, if you're coaching youth, you've got to be running 80–90% of your practice in transition drills, okay? 3v2 teaches the basics of defense, recover, defense, recover, defense, recover. But if you're coaching U13, U11, U15, whenever you have an extra offensive man, nobody is standing on the outside beating the banging snot out of Johnny when you're even 4v4, 6v6. Does that make sense? And the other thing is, Johnny knows that he doesn't have to run by or beat Billy because Billy's beating the snot out of him. That he's got a man open somewhere, all he needs to do is find him. So if a kid is 11 or 13 years old and when he goes to practice, he knows 80% of the time there's somebody open, you're inherently developing ball movement skills, head-up looking skills, rather than, as you often find at the youth group, the biggest, strongest kid runs through 5, he scores, and everybody else watches. Okay? Next, any drill, any transition drill that I'm going to show you can be 4 or 5 drills. And I'm going to show you how we do that and accomplish a different game scenario snapshot in every situation. Kids today, you know, I will take it one step further than the earlier speakers. You know, most of the college coaches we talk to, now they've got the true advantage of putting the clock on the field where they're practicing on, and they do. But we have found coaches running their drills at the NCAA level are 7 to 10 minutes, max. And again, the point you heard reiterated twice today, if they're not getting it, smile at the kids, say we'll come back to it in a couple days. Don't sit there and get more frustrated. Or bang buckets. Not that I ever bang any bucket, but I got an award one year from Home Depot. The next thing is your drills. College coaches, and every year it's interesting. Every year we see a new trend in NCAA lacrosse coaching. The last 18 months, we've seen a whole new dedication to emulating a game scenario with every drill. Now, we still want to get the kids 200 touches. We still want to integrate our offense into our shooting drills, make everything one package. Does that make any sense, okay? So, I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm saying the college coaches that we've interviewed, and we've interviewed more college coaches than Kirk Kucinich on his wildest day, right? They're running less and less of the star drill, metaphorically. How can I get those same amount of touches and do something that I want the kids to do in a game, right? I see these coaches, oh, we run a 3-man weave. Well, who's got an offense in here where they pass to a guy and then run behind his back? You know? And the problem is not the coaching style or the technique of the drill, the problem is the kids. You know, millennials, and Gen Xers for that matter, they don't come to you with an inherent trust that you've earned because your title says head coach and you've been a coach of the year and won championships and everything else. I mean, that happened to me when I went to Auburn. I showed those guys my resume like 4 days in a row and they still didn't get any better. Okay, so Auburn may have been a mistake. Anyway, how can I take that same drill that Don talked about where I'm getting 40 or 50 touches in a 7-minute period, you know, and turn it into a transition drill or shooting drill? And those are really the kind of things that we try and share on our site as much as we can. Any drill can be, oh sorry, I'm having trouble working this way. Can be up to 5 drills, right? And there's techniques that I'm going to share with you in the next couple of minutes on how to do this. You know, we can make a 3v2 drill very easily at 4v3. You know, unless your team is Westminster or Lovett or more progressive, you know, I wouldn't run a lot of 5v4. You know, and at the youth level, I would, at U11, U13, I would run predominantly 3v2. Teaching them to move the ball, maintain spacing, there's a lot of room for everybody to operate, and the defense goes to the ball, then what does? He opens to the inside, gets a stick in the passing lane, and recovers back to the hub or the crease or the garbage can or whatever it turns out to be. Does that make sense? You, Lou, you've done more with youth than anybody here. Would you agree with that? Yeah. I mean, 4v3 is just tighter, right? They can't see the open guy as easier. Another way to change up any drill and emulate a game scenario is add-ons. You know, one of the, probably the 40th or 50th interview we did was with Dave Cottle this last year in Maryland. He was the master of the add-on, right? They run a 3v2, they'll add 1 offense, 1 defense. Run a 3v2, add 1 defense, make it a 4v3. Every single day, those players are entering the drill from a different location. And I'm going to share with you why that's so important. Just by where you put those poles especially. You know, I mean, I cringe, and I want to go out and share what we've learned. You know, when I see guys in their pregame, you know, run 2 defensemen out from the GLE, and 3 guys come down top, and they run 3v2 like that in their pregame, you know, all day long. I mean, with all due respect, it's analogous to what Jimmy was saying about goalies not seeing 17-yard shots, right? your slides and your adjustment in a transition snapshot of a game are not going to be 2 poles at the same time within 1 yard of the cage running up to cover 3 guys up top. Now, if coaching U11, U13, that's a great place to teach these fundamentals. Coaching JV, coaching varsity, emulate the game scenario. It's not that hard. It just takes a little touch of creativity, if you will. Now, here's an example of what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to draw everything up because I've got everything on film. But what I want to share with you is, this is one of my favorite drills. And I got this from Andy Towers at when he was at Dartmouth. Let me give credit where credit is due. He called it swing drills, right? And in this drill, we've got 2 cones, 2 cones, 2 cones, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. We're going to blow the whistle. They're going to carry into the drill. In this case, for the sake of dialogue, I've got my 2 poles lined up right where I told you not to put them. You'll see why in a second. Because I'm teaching the kids to drill, right? Another thing that has been very effective for me, and college coaches also do, college coaches are so much better at explaining why we're doing a drill. And guys that have coached with me here will share with you, anytime I introduce a new drill, and I've got over 300, right? Anytime I introduce a new drill, I always tell the players, hey, don't worry, we may not get this right now, okay? We'll come back to it in a couple days. So when they struggle, you just smile, right? Body language is how the message is sent. You smile and say, hey, listen, I told you we were going to take us a while to get the hang of it, especially some of the drills I'm going to build up to here today. Come back to it another day, and you'll see they'll get better. I coached a Copperhead national team to a Dick's National Championship. That team was great. Had great players, great face-off guys, great goalie. Coaching was moderate at the very best. But even that talent, which at that time was probably one of the better teams to come out of Georgia, right? I mean, I think the only team to win a national championship. But at the end of the day, my point is, even that was some of the best players in Atlanta. You know, when we would introduce one of these new drills, they would struggle with it for 5 or 6 minutes. Anyway, so in this particular case, this offensive player is going to run around the cone. That gives the defense a chance to come out and get lined up, whether they're in a stack eye or whether they're in a lateral eye. This guy's got the ball, this guy's got the hole, this guy makes it, this guy runs around a cone, this guy runs around a cone, and that gives the defense a chance to get set up. For your youth coaches, this guy makes a pass to the open man, right? This defender that was out recovers to the hole, open hip, stick to the inside. This defender comes out and takes him, and these two are just constantly going like this as we're moving the ball. And it's a very straightforward way to teach the, the basics of that drill. Anyway, here you see it. Oh, one other note. All the film I'm going to show you today is a compilation of my U.S. Lacrosse presentation last year and this year. Mostly Luke, because I couldn't figure out how to get the background off my movies. I didn't want to reload them. I should have called you. Louis the King is speaking of U.S. Lacrosse. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is, once the kids learn the drill, right, now let's make it fun. I'm going to stand here with my stick and my whistle. All 3 of those lines that have to run around the cone to initiate the 3v2, they've all got a ball in their stick. Wherever I point, that guy carries. This guy drops and plays, this guy drops and plays. So the defenders never know. Well, I mean, ultimately they know, right? But where the ball comes in from is never the same. So these guys that run that 3v2 pregame, and I don't mean to be negative that I talked before, oh my gosh, the pass always goes the same place, right? So on and so forth. So it's a very simple drill. And I'm showing it to you the way I teach it to the kids. Go around the cone, go around the cone, go around the cone. In this drill, and again, you see this is not a national travel team. This is not a varsity team. The film I'm going to show you today comes from camps I've done with players of all levels. Doesn't do me any good to come in here and show you how Duke runs that drill. Because what I hear from the youth coaches most often is, oh, you don't understand. My kids can't throw left. They can't handle that drill. Malarkey. If you run these drills fast enough, the way you saw in that video, nobody knows if Billy dropped the ball or not. Okay? And again, here we're using multitasking. You know, here we're coaching, catching the ball on the outside shoulder, right? Which is going to force the guy, if the ball's coming this way, he's got to catch it left. Now, everybody likes to play with a man advantage, right? Would you rather be on the team with 2 or the team with 3? Audience participation time.
3.
Ah, what such a bright group you are. So if you catch it with the wrong shoulder, if you catch it with your stick inside, in other words, where the slide is coming from, I blow the whistle, the drill is over, new 3V and 2 is already out. I'm not yelling at the kids. I'm not berating them. I'm not embarrassing them in front of the other kids. But you lost your chance to be on the 3. Now, do we integrate, you know, middies and D-middies into this? Absolutely. And the other thing that's great to do once every other week is put your attack on the defensive side. The mature teams that I've coached, and I've been so blessed, I've had so many great players and so many that have served in Afghanistan. You know, one of them's flying an Apache helicopter every day in danger right now, and every month sends me a picture of him and his buddies outside his helicopter with a lacrosse stick, Macintosh kid. I mean, my God. We have such a responsibility, don't we? It's such a privilege as coaches. When you go home pissed off, don't lose sight of that. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the drill. What am I emulating here? I'm emulating a guy with the ball beating somebody. Does that make sense? So those 2 defenders got to slide. In other words, the snapshot that I'm trying to recreate is 3 guys playing offense, 3 guys playing defense in a game. 1 guy gets beat, the other 2 guys got to adjust. Does that make sense? You with me so far? So I'm emulating somebody getting beat on ball. Now in games, I don't know about you guys, maybe you got better guys than we got. One of the things that happens quite a bit is the ball be up top, and especially some teams are really sneaky at this, especially good coaches. Anybody got Westminster on their schedules? Tony's still here. He loves to do this. Okay. I'm sure you already know. Anyway, so now I wanted to show you, I'm going to run the same drill. You with me? But this time, I'm going to put 2 of these cone lines back here and 1 up top. So now I'm going to start with the ball up here, right? Or start the ball in this corner. And when they have to adjust, I don't want my poles to play 9. You know, we want to cut this guy off at GLE. But when they adjust, now this line over here, you're going to see on the film, is going to come into the game. I'm simulating a backdoor cut by an attackman. Again, you look at it and you're going, oh, it's another 3v2 drill. No, man, I'm working on skill set here. That goalie's got to recognize that this guy got back cut, right? And we got to adjust. And the other thing we're teaching our defensemen here, our poles or our D-mids, is when you think we're in a transition moment, you know, we don't want you to play behind. So, in other words, the exact same drill. The cones now are back here, back here, back here. And if you notice, I'm bringing one of my lines of poles in from here. So now I'm making my pole slide down instead of always sliding up, right? You want to make this drill treacherous? Put 2 of your pole lines up top. Those guys got to run into the hub, communicate, get ready to go, so on and so forth. I could run this drill very easily with 2 cones here, right? 2 cones here, 2 cones here. And emulate 2 guys up top and a guy coming from X that beats this guy on ball. How do we now adjust? At the same time, teaching the 2 guys on top to create space and ultimately find their way into time and room or time and space so we get that 2v1 in front where we want to let it go. Does that make sense? Couldn't I very easily now add 4 sets of cones and 3 defenders and make this a 4v3 drill, at the same time making it 5 or 6 different drills by where we put the guys? You with me? I could run this drill the way you're seeing it now, put another line of defenders up here, like a midi that didn't make it down the field on time. That ever happened to you guys? That's the reason I didn't play midi, because I could never make it on time. I had to rest. That's a long way. Yeah, so I can run a 3v2, and I can add one with a trailer at different varying points. So again, I've got a drill that accomplishes a lot of different things for me, but kids hate monotony, right? But yet I go to these practices and I do camps and I'll meet with the coaches the night before and they'll show me their practice plans. And you know, Don Rigger's an unbelievable coach, okay? But we have one little maybe disagreement there. Yeah, I want to change my practice plan every day. And Coach Hunter will tell you, the only drill that we really do every day is we do shooting instead of passing drills. So it'll be two right hand, split dodge, left hand, from different areas on the field. You don't have to do that. I got that from Berkman at Salisbury. That's what I do. Kids, rather than do passing drill, now we still have to do 25 and 30-yard passing drills and full field passing because, you know, it's happened to me before. I got a team that can make 15-yard passes and shoot it like crazy. When you're clearing the ball and they got to make a 25 or 30-yard pass and catch on the run, they drop the ball. Now, right before you yell at them, you go, I wonder why he dropped that. How many times have we practiced that? Could it be 0 in the last 4 weeks? So now, whose fault is it? The kid's fault or my fault? It's my fault. But does this give you an idea on how to create different drills for the kids? And the kids love it. And they got to be more focused because it's different every day. And at the same time, you're emulating a different game scenario. Here we're going to do a variation of that. This is a basic 3v3 drill. We're going to let the kids play 3v3 a little bit. We may be working on outside turns. We may be working on, you know, if you run a shallow cut weave from up top of your midi sometimes. Kids today are so much better at multitasking than my generation ever was. So if you tell the kids, I'm going to multitask you in this drill, we're going to focus on 2 or 3 elements, right? Man, they get better in the games and everything else. But in this particular case, we're going to play 3v3 up top, and I'm going to simulate a guy getting back cut from behind. So my add one offensive line is now all the way deep behind the cage. And of course the game scenario is that there was a defender covering him that turned his back, was ball watching out front, and the guy just flew by him from the rear. And now we have to adjust. Does that make sense? And the kids, I mean, they love this. I could make this 4v3, there he is. I could make this 5v4. That guy slid through, as you saw. Guy dropped down, took him through the crease, opened up the backside top for a drive down the wing. And it goes back to the 86%. You're not going to get these many moments of transition. You got to make it count. You know, so I think the guys that have coached against me, you know, would probably say that my teams are generally little and very, very good at moving the ball. And the reason is because they're getting 300 touches in every practice. Right now. How many touches do you think the offensive guys are getting in this drill if you've got 20, 24 guys in practice? In 7 minutes, it ranges between 26, 27, 32, and 35. 7 minutes, 30 touches. And it wasn't line drills. Oh, gag me with a spoon. You know, the only time you see college coaches do line drills is some of them, Don Zimmer as an example, Tony Seaman a little bit, is because they're trying to get their guys a lot of touches while they're warming up their goalies. If you go to their practices, you never see that. Well, Zimmer, you see it. He's the only guy out of 125 hours of interviewing practice plans, one coach runs line drills in practice.